メジャー翻訳速報。ワールドシリーズが終わり、ドジャースが悲願の優勝を果たした中、現地放送局の解説者たちの注目すべき分析があります。今回は大谷翔平選手を含むドジャースの14億ドルの投資が実を結んだ瞬間と MLB の新しい変化について現地の声をお届けします。この動画では現地放送局の様子を翻訳してお届けいたします。お見逃しのないよう今のうちにチャンネル登録をお願いします。
While you were watching something else, but nobody was watching anything else when the World Series was on. Yeah, everybody was glued to the series. However, since the series ended, there has been a little bit of news. These were the final images from the 120th running of the Fall Classic. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world. Dave Roberts elated, as were all the boys in blue, to hoist a commissioner's trophy. And so many of their statements afterwards, I found it interesting, had to do with 2020.
Yeah.
And kind of the shade that they'd been thrown for winning the World Series in the COVID year. Now, let me say this. Anybody that discredited that World Series needs to really stop and check themselves. What were they that's what they had. That's all we had.
So
they
don't
won
go win it.
So don't say, oh, it didn't count, it was fake. What were they supposed to do? Not try to win the World Series because it was a quote-unquote fake World Series? They were the best team in baseball that year. That's what we had, a 60-game season.
No.
So not discrediting that is first.
But if you look at that year, that may be the toughest year ever because you had to deal with the 40-man roster that you didn't know if someone was going to have COVID and be out for 10 days.
That's a good point.
You didn't even have a full complement of the roster.
But I think it was still in a lot of the Dodgers that were on the roster that year because a lot of their comments were now they got to stop talking about the fake World Series in 2020. Well, anybody that called it a fake World Series is out of line.
Right.
So
agree.
The Dodgers have won 2 World Series in the last 5 years now because 2020 counts just the same for me.
I agree. No doubt about it. The biggest thing with this one, what I kept hearing from players is I'm going to finally get a parade. That was their calling card. I want a parade. I want a parade. And so that kind of pushed them to this because they didn't get a parade in 2020, but they got one this year.
Lauren's going to dive in on the best of the parade a little bit later on. Sunny day in Los Angeles, as per usual. Downtown was cleaned up. Doesn't happen very often in LA anymore. And it was pretty big event. So we thought this was interesting. Mark Sales, our researcher on the show, put this together for us. It is not a guarantee, Harold, that the biggest spenders win the World Series, right? The Dodgers spent $1.4 billion last winter. Of course, a lot of that was the Ohtani deal.
Right.
And they won the World Series. But take a look at the biggest spenders the 3 years prior to this one. And then go back 5 years earlier than that. For the Angels in 2019, that big expenditure came in re-upping Mike Trout. The Angels missed the postseason that year. They've missed the postseason every year since, as a matter of fact. Cubs, Dodgers, Giants, and Marlins. And those teams didn't fare particularly well, save the Dodgers that got in. The Marlins spent a bunch of money and missed the entire postseason. That was the year they re-upped Stanton to that record-setting contract. So what the Dodgers did, rarely do you win the offseason and then win the World Series. Tip your cap to them for not only spending the money, but doing it the right way and winning.
Well, and they won big, too. I mean, I know they won on the field, but the Ohtani contract has paid off and then some already in Japan. But I think for baseball, the biggest win is the fans are finally getting younger. You know, we've been trying to reach that 18 to 30 range. Well, they set records. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way baseball's been going about it. You saw all the different colors of cleats and medallions and bat flips and all the things that the old people are tired of, don't like, but the younger generation embraces. And I think it's turning the tide. The fans are getting younger. The game is surviving. The players connect with the young people, social media, all that. It is a huge win. And we've not seen these numbers. Can you put those back up again? We haven't seen numbers like that.
We got that full screen built.
I mean, look at these numbers. 30 million combined average viewers. And the bigger part is I really think the Ohtani effect is huge. You look at Ohtani, Yamamoto, the Japanese players that participated. And if you look at the Dodgers alone, let's think about this, Matt. You've got, just in the World Series, I'll go both teams. But we had one year, 2020 actually, Mookie Betts was the only African-American player in the World Series. That was it.
Is that true?
He was the only participant, all right? This year, you think about the multicultural players that we saw across the board. Japanese players, Venezuelan, Dominican, big stars across the board. And then you look at the African-American players that were in this series. I think we reached the rainbow, and it affected the reason there's so many young people watching, because they're seeing people that look like them across the whole structure of the sport. I thought it was amazing.
All right, congratulations to the Gold Glovers. We learned yesterday of the winners in the American and National League, and in the American, some of the notable takeaways. Bobby Witt Jr. wins his first as he gets the Gold Glove at shortstop in the American League. And Carlos Santana, at 38 and a half years old, according to the great Sarah Lang, the oldest ever to win a Gold Glove for the first time. Congratulations to him. Alex Bregman, perhaps on his way out of Houston, who knows? Wilyer Abreu kind of pops at you, and Dylan Moore gets the utility Gold Glove at first base. Talk about the National Leaguers in a moment. First, your reaction to the American League. We just had this discussion. I think Dalton Varsho is one of the best defenders in baseball at any position. Glad to see him recognized. We should note that this award, this is a managers and coaches award. And I'm looking at the voting rules online right now. Managers and coaches cannot vote for their own players. They can only vote for players in their league. The manager and 6 coaches vote, so there's a total of 7 votes from all 30 teams to name these Gold Glovers.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what a Gold Glover looks like anymore. I don't. You watch games and you see guys make unbelievable plays day in, day out. They're not even mentioned. And you see guys that you're going, you got to be kidding me, he's a finalist? That are finalists. So I really don't know what's the standard that these coaches and managers are looking at anymore. To me, the best defender on that list is Jimenez from Cleveland. Incredible. Everything. He does it all. Relays, makes the plays, the routine play, the great play, the spectacular play. And my other takeaway is Bobby Witt Jr. went from a guy they were concerned about playing shortstop to putting the work in to now become a Gold Glover. And a lot of times people say, oh, it's the offense, it's everything else is the reason he won it. No, this guy busted his tail, and he makes all the plays. So he's reliable, he's got great range, he makes super plays. The other omission I have that I just cannot believe that you guys are watching baseball, and Aaron Judge made 0 errors in center field. 0. We saw his 1 error in the World Series at 6'7", 290, ranging center, making all the plays. And he didn't win a Gold Glove?
Yeah.
He isn't even mentioned? I'm sorry, when Aaron Judge doesn't win a gold on a year like this, I don't know what you guys are looking at. I don't. I really don't.
That's a good point. Look, every once in a while they miss. And I remember a year when Mitch Moreland won a Gold Glove, but he spent most of the year DHing, or a great deal of the year DHing. Every once in a while there's weirdness.
Did you watch Aaron Judge play center this year?
He's tremendous.
He was outstanding.
I'll quote you. What's not to like? He's tremendous. And if I could find that soundbite, I would use it. Let's look at the National League winners for Gold Glove, because this is an interesting list as well. Some of the takeaways here, the highlights. Christian Walker, who's on the market as a free agent, has made it 3 straight at first base.
Holding it down.
Matt Chapman at third base. He's won a platinum. This is his 5th Gold Glove at that position, and he's won them for, I think, now 3 different teams. Brenton Doyle in center field. I think baseball insiders know how good he is. And as bad as the Rockies may be in general, and they are struggling, they're rebuilding constantly, so it seems, they do have 2 Gold Glovers in their ranks with Ezekiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle. And who else pops for you here?
I mean, I'll say the same thing. Tovar has come a long ways. I thought it was interesting watching Sal Frelick win the Gold Glove.
Yeah, I mean, Sal Frelick wins a Gold Glove. He's in the lineup not because he's going to hit tons of pop. I mean, he didn't homer in a long time this year. He had a notable home run streak.
I'm surprised that Bryce Terang did win. I was going to say their second baseman didn't win, because Bryce Terang is really...
He's going to win one someday.
He's going to win. He won.
Awfully
he won
good
this
too.
one. There's some good ones, though.
He's on there. Terang's in there.
Yeah, he's on there. I don't know. I still see...
I see, but here's the thing. I know what you're saying. I feel like this award is a little bit more old school eyeball test than some postseason awards, because I don't think managers and coaches are digging into UZR and OAA. I think they're looking at what they see from the dugout more.
I don't.
You don't?
No. I think the coaching staff, because we have so many analytic coaches now, are looking at the numbers than watching the plays. That's just my take.
You might be right.
Because most of the staffs have more guys that are there for the analytics than they are from the former player. Willie Randolph isn't there coaching no more. You know what I mean? He's been replaced by a numbers guy that says, here's where we're going to stand. And he's going to decide his UZR and things like that. Look at this guy. He's always in the right place. Yeah. He's in the right range.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what the award has become. And I understand. I'm looking at, I don't know. I go all day with this. I'm a little disappointed in what I'm seeing and not being produced on the awards.
Saber-electrics are everywhere, man.
You have a front office who's saber-electrically minded.
He's going nowhere. He came out with a sign when he was a youngster growing up in Southern California, and his children had a sign during the World Series. Listen, he's where he wants to be. He's a New York Yankee. He's been the ace of the staff, 2023 reigning Cy Young Award winner. Was fabulous in Game 5, that fifth inning that fell apart on the Yankees. They're going, that says it all. Yankee fan today, tomorrow, forever. There's no chance that they let Garrett Cole slip away. They need him now just as much as the Yankees as he needs the Yankees.
Yeah, listen, I love the Arts and Crafts project, and it would be a real shame to have to cross out forever. And it's kids. I mean, I'm sure that's hanging in their bedroom somewhere.
And you know, it's not an easy place to play either. The bright lights of New York, some guys have a difficult time making the adjustment.
Yeah.
It's been a simple adjustment for Garrett Cole. Started the year on the IL, had some issues with that elbow, a little bit up and down. He pitched very well in the month of September. He was very good in the postseason, and it is what it is. I mean, with a sub 3.5 ERA, you know, he's at the top list. One thing you know, prior to this year, spending some time on the IL, he's going to take the ball back in his days with the Pirates. He posts up every 5 days. The moment isn't too big. He was great in that elimination game in Game 5 where he was pitching for his life, that crazy fifth inning, but he came back and pitched well into the seventh inning. And when they needed him the most, he stepped up in the sixth, getting it into the seventh.
Hey, listen, you're the expert, but in my humble opinion, having covered the ALCS and being around that team, could anyone else have handled that fifth the way Garrett Cole did and then come out in the sixth without a mound visit?
No, and the one thing that he has, and you can't teach that, he has pitchability, and he's a different pitcher than he was when he came up with the Pirates, right? First round pick. Overall out of UCLA. He was more of a sinker, two-seam guy, threw the curveball, the slider. He added, when he got traded to the Astros, he added that four-seam fastball up in the zone. That changed his entire game around. To me, him and Jacob deGrom, when deGrom's healthy, they're the best two pitchers in baseball. With the exception, put Tarek Skubal in that mix right now. But he has a four-seam fastball he can ride up. And in Game 5, that's the best I've seen him look mechanically since he hurt the elbow. He was effortless 95 to 97. He touched 98, 99. Almost pitched out of a jam. Bases loaded, nobody out. Struck out Lux, struck out Ohtani. Then that squibber that went to first base off the bat of Mookie Betts. He was so close from getting out of that. And I really believe this. If they don't botch that fifth inning up, the Yankees win Game 5, and they're going to go out to L.A. for Game 6.
Would they have won Game 6?
I don't know if they would have won Game 6. Dodgers were a better team.
Yeah, that was it ended a little bit earlier than I think a lot of baseball fans would have liked. Let's transition over to his teammate Juan Soto. I don't even think he was able to get in the shower before reporters were asking him where he would end up. Him and his agent Scott Boras said they're open to hearing offers from all 30 teams. Dan, does he stay or does he go?
No, I think he's going to the highest bidder. I don't have any inside information what's going on in the Bronx, but I will say this. I think it's going to be hard for the Yankee brass to have a guy that's going to significantly make more money than Aaron Judge. Like, Aaron Judge is the captain of this team. I'm not going to say in a disappointing way, but literally that game wasn't a half hour over, and he was basically said, I'm going to listen to all takers. I'm going to see what's out there. And to me, that means he's going to chase the highest dollar amount. Where that's going to come from, I don't know. I know the Giants have money they want to spend. The Mets obviously have money that they want to spend. You can never count a team out like the Cubs if they wanted to do something crazy. Even the Dodgers, if there was a big contract with some deferred payments, he's going to have a handful of suitors, and he brings something that a lot of teams don't have. He's a game changer when he stands there in the bat.
Yeah, he really is. I've been hearing rumors that the number will start with a 7.
That's more than likely what it's going to take.
Hard to believe, but that's Shohei Ohtani money, and if you look at his WAR, that's what he brings to the table. Reportedly, 11 teams in the mix, including those New York Mets. Speaking of the Mets, Pete Alonso, should he stay or should he go? I heard all sorts of things from Mets fans about the contract offer during the postseason.
I'd love to see him stay in a Mets uniform, Lauren, but I don't think that he is. And this is a simple reason why. He's really a first baseman / DH. Mark Vientos burst onto the scene. He was their best hitter in the postseason. Vientos has some difficulty at third base. I think an easy transition for Vientos would be to go to first base. You've got that big bat. And I think if you go by what David Stern's track record was with Milwaukee, I don't necessarily think they're going to try to build around one guy. They already have one of those guys in Francisco Lindor. There's going to be a lot of suitors for Pete Alonso. I get it. You know, he took a lot of criticism during the year. He is on the struggle bus for a big part of it. But you go back to Game 3 in Milwaukee, that was arguably the biggest hit of the season for the Mets. There are a lot of teams that need what he does. It's hard to get a guy that hits 30 home runs, knocks in 100 runs. This year it was 88 runs. Listen, the average is what it is, but it's not easy to hit 34 home runs. There are a lot of teams that are looking for offense. To me, he'd look good in a Mariners uniform. They struggle to score runs, so he's going to have some takers. And then you look at the Houston Astros. They had some issues at first base, so there are going to be enough teams that are going to drive the price up. But my gut feeling says they're going to move Vientos from third to first.
Vientos also a postseason darling there for the Mets. 226 career home runs for Pete Alonso. That's third most in Mets history, only behind Darryl Strawberry and David Wright. So Mets fans, I know they gave him his flowers towards the end of that run because I don't know if they were anticipating him returning to the Mets in 2025. You were talking about Milwaukee and then Corbin Burns, of course, his former team. Let's move on to Baltimore. Will he stay or will he go? Because in my opinion, I think he turned into the ace of Baltimore needed.
I think he stays. And I think if you're the Orioles, if it's within reason, you have to do all you can do to bring him back. Look at the 15 wins, the ERA of 2.92. Struggled a little bit in the month of August. Turned it back around in the month of September. He was terrific. Unfortunately, he matched up against Tarek Skubal in Game 1. He pitched brilliantly, gave up 1 run, but that was 1 run too many. You look at the back end of that Orioles starting rotation, love their everyday players. They have a stable of young players that are the envy of baseball. They have a whole nother stable down in the minor leagues. But they don't have what it takes to win in the AL East in that starting pitching.
Yeah.
If they lose him, they better get on the bus to try to find somebody to replace him. I think he stays with the Orioles.
Expectations are sky high, obviously, for the O's, especially in this division and all the talent that they have. But when you're talking rotation, even if they hang on to Burns, what other pieces do they need with that pitching staff?
They need pitching, and more pitching. Because really, I mean, if you look at what they were doing the last month and a half of the season, what looked like it was going to be a strength, Grayson Rodriguez spent a lot of time on the IL. Yeah. They were hoping for big things from him. Zach Eflin, they wouldn't have, I don't even know if they would have made the wild card. Well, they had such a substantial lead over the Royals and the Twins. But until they acquired Zach Eflin, he was a stabilizing force. The 1-2 punch of Eflin and Burns was all they had basically in that starting rotation. So I think they're going to try to keep
Yeah,
Burns.
their offense cannot just keep them afloat.
Correct.
Okay, so we talked about how the Tigers knocked them out. We also saw some surprising moves in the wild card there. An upset as the Astros were knocked out in the wild card, obviously unable to get to their 8th consecutive championship in the postseason. So here we go. Alex Bregman, who spent all 9 seasons in Houston, 7-time All-Star. Does he stay, Dan, or does he go?
I think he's going to go because something tells me that he's looking for another mega deal, something bigger than what he's made already. And I don't know if the Astros are looking to tie that kind of money up on a guy like that. I don't want to say towards the back end of his career, but when you start getting in your 30s, you kind of look at a long-term contract and you have to look at it as how many good years are we going to get on the back end of a long-term contract, right? He's a winning player. He could play in a lot of different teams. He's going to have a lot of people courting him to try to get him to go. Something tells me that somebody's going to be a higher bidder other than the Astros.
Oh man, don't tell that to his teammate Jose Altuve.
know.
Did you hear his quote following their elimination game? As we take a look here, in my mind, there's not a chance. This is his last game. He gave a lot to this organization, so it's time for us as an organization to pay him back and make him stay here. Altuve, stand up for his
he
guy.
might have to break out his checkbook himself and help Jim Crane write out that big check, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
メジャー翻訳速報。ドジャースのワールドシリーズ制覇、本当に感動的でしたね。大谷翔平選手の加入等で14億ドルという大型投資をしたドジャースですが、その投資が早くも実を結んだ形となりました。特に印象的だったのは、若い世代のファンが増えているということです。大谷選手をはじめとする日本人選手たちの活躍が、野球の新しい時代を切り開いているように感じます。多様性に富んだ選手たちが活躍する姿は、まさに野球の未来を象徴しているのではないでしょうか。皆様のご感想もぜひコメント欄でお聞かせください。ご視聴ありがとうございました。